Good morning, welcome back. I'm Elijah Morales, this is Rabah Hudus, and we're going to be your host for second period Scholar Talks. That's the
Hi, welcome to Scholar Talks at Cypress High School. My name is Mrs. Freed and I'm the human anatomy teacher here. It's my idea to start these Scholar Talks here at Cypress High School last year, and we are now in our second year of doing it. What we've done over the last 2 weeks is I've asked all the students to kind of answer this driving question. It involves looking at science in the next 30 years. The students could choose any topic that they wanted to. They just had to look at it in the scope of a 30-year time period, and it had to be science related. Over the 2 weeks, the students were giving a lot of time, 3 days in class, to do research on their topic of interest. They answered several questions on different worksheets to help guide their interest to figure out what they wanted to do their talk on. And then we started in baby steps, doing a 1-minute presentation with their table groups where they kind of got to vent their ideas and get some critical friends feedback from the students sitting at their table groups. Then they went on to do a little bit more research, and they came up with a now 2.5-minute presentation, which they did a gallery walk around my class. We had 3 or 4 students listening to every time they presented, and over that 3.5 minutes, they were given a score out of 5. Once the students were done with their presentation, the other students rotated around, and another speech was given by the original presenter. This was called our gallery walk. After that, we're going to go ahead and pick our top 15 students. They'll practice over the next couple weeks, and then we've gotten to the point where they're now doing their Scholar Talks, which you are seeing today. Hopefully you enjoy yourselves. Thanks for watching.
Presenting first is Allison Woodward on maternal mortality.
Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about the rising rates of maternal mortality in the United States. In April of 2016, Kira Johnson and her husband Charles Johnson were excited to be at the hospital to enter her second boy into this world. She never missed a prenatal appointment, and this delivery was expected to be smooth just like the one before. However, in the recovery room, Charles saw her health start to decline. He noticed blood in her catheter and immediately told a nurse. The nurse ordered a CT, but unlike in movies and TV shows, CTs aren't instantaneous. While waiting for the CT, she began to get worse. She was in more and more pain, trembling, and was sensitive to the touch. When she was finally taken to the CT, it was the last time Charles saw her alive. Unfortunately, stories like these aren't unique, and more are being told each year. In the United States, over 700 women will die during pregnancy, childbirth, or within 42 days after in just a year. When I set that up to the maternal mortality ratio used worldwide, we have about 26.4 deaths every 100,000 live births. Now, it's not fair for me to compare these rates to those of other countries who aren't in the developed world like we are. So if we compare it to countries that are, we have the UK, and they have about 9 deaths every 100,000 live births. In Canada, it's 3 times safer to be pregnant, give birth. And then one of the safest countries to be pregnant and give birth is Finland, where they have about 3.8 deaths every 100,000 live births. So now you may be thinking to yourself, if this is such a big deal, why haven't I heard about it, or what can I do to help? So the biggest reason that nobody really knows about this, and it's not talked about that much, is because the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, or the CDC, every year they post a National Center for Health Statistics list, and maternal mortality has not been published on that list since 2007. So for 13 years, our maternal mortality rates have not been published on that list, and if looking at that list, you're not going to see them, and you would have to do your own research to find out that list. And most people aren't going to go do their own research on this kind of stuff. But there are ways to help this, and California has been proving that to us since 2006. So we have 50 states in our nation, and obviously every state is going to have different rates, and our highest rate is in Georgia, where 46.2 women die every 100,000 live births. But then if we come on over to California, we have 4 women dying every 100,000 live births. So how is there such big discrepancies in one nation? In 2006, a group of doctors decided that they wanted to change this, and so they created the California Maternal Quality Care Collaborative. And when they made this, they found that the biggest reason that women were dying was from hemorrhages and preeclampsia, which is pregnancy-induced high blood pressure. And they realized that every doctor, for the most part, has a different way of dealing with these things, and they wanted to make it so that there's one solution and just one common thing, similar to how everyone does CPR the same way. If we were all to go learn CPR, we would all pretty much do it the same way, and then we could join in together and we would all know how to do it. So they wanted one way to treat preeclampsia and hemorrhages. So on their maternal ward, they made these things called hemorrhage carts, similar to crash carts. When you use a crash cart for a cardiac arrest patient, has everything you need. A hemorrhage cart has everything you need for a hemorrhage, and you could just take it into their room really fast, and everything is in there. So they started doing drills with these carts. They started memorizing everything with these carts, and they started getting to know the carts, and so that they could practice and be ready when it happens in real life. And other hospitals and other birthing centers in California realized, hey, they're doing something, and we need to get on board with that. And because of that, 88% of birthing centers in California now have hemorrhage carts and now practice drills. And since 2006, the maternal mortality rate in California has decreased over 50%. So the rates in the U.S. are rising, and they have been rising for years, but California has proven, hey, we can reverse this. We can fix this. So as young adults entering into the future, we need to talk about it. We need to share what we know about this topic because it's really scary, and we need people to understand, hey, mothers are dying and we need to fix it. Right now it might not seem like such a big thing, but one day you might know someone in that delivery room, whether it be your wife, your sister, someone you love might be in that delivery room, and you're going to want them to come out and be able to celebrate with you and with their family and their new child. One day you might not find yourself in the safest state to give birth. Thank you.
Alright, so right now what we're doing in class is we're basically researching and fine-tuning our research to see what we want into our presentations and what we don't want. So we want to have all the details about what we're talking about. We want to make sure we're educated, and we want to make sure that our presentations are going to go smoothly and we know what we're talking about. So basically we're going to use our Chromebooks to obviously find information. It makes it a lot faster, a lot easier. We can sift through the information rather quickly instead of looking through a book. We can also take all the information that we found and directly put it into a Google Doc and organize our thoughts a lot better. So it's individual because it's our own information that we want to gather. It's about something that we're passionate about. So I'm passionate, I'm doing it about the workplace and about.
Great job, Allison.
Coming up is Kyler Kroll, and he's going to be doing his presentation on the rides of the future.
Nice. Okay, hi. My name is Kyler. I'm here to talk to you about the rise of the future. So, on December 5th in Florida, 2019, and January 17th, 2020, Star Wars Rise of the Resistance, a ride at Disneyland, decided to open. It's pretty great. There's me and my good pal Daniel Lee and my little brother Gavin Kroll, and there's us on opening day at the ride. So it's a pretty dope experience, you know. So, as you can see, we're beaming with excitement. We're just thrilled to be there, as many other people are from just, you know, all the interviews and experience talking around the park. So with the ride, obviously, it's just an immersive experience, obviously bringing Star Wars to real life. But for those of you who actually go outside and don't care about Star Wars, it's just, you know, a big thing, like technological-wise, that's just going to help boost us into the future. So that's why I'm here. In case you were wondering, I'm going to be talking to you about how that technology is going to be integrated in our future, just in the recent years, and how we're going to have all these developments in our generation. So Disney really pulled out all the stops. They have over 100 computers above and underground to just account for all the technology, the visuals, displays, all the robotics running around, just to make sure that the ride is fully functioning and that it really is an immersive experience. So starting off with the animatronics behind the ride. As you can see in that picture, all the stormtroopers hanging out there, those aren't real people, and they're actually all animatronic robots. So for those of you who don't know what animatronics are, they're like lifelike fluid moving robotics. They're used in film and entertainment. And some of the most famous ones that you could probably recognize are the shark from Jaws, the T-Rex from Jurassic Park, and then little E.T. in the basket. All robots and all used to create like lifelike movements. And Disney has over 65 of their own brand called audio animatronics. They have 65 of those on the ride itself. And it's just creating these human-like movements. And then they have 3 A1000A audio animatronics, which is their best brand, like the best model that they ever have. So they really pulled out all the stops to make sure that this ride is immersive. And these lifelike movements make it seem like these are real people in these costumes, and it's really an immersive experience. So this technology, this human-like technology, it's not really only for the entertainment, and in our near future, we could very well see it integrating into things like the medical field. One of the big problems with using robotics in the medical field is the question is not only if it's ethical, but if robots will be a good substitute for humans, because a robot could be maybe too hard on an elderly or someone who's paralyzed. It could hurt them even more. But with these human-like motions combined with the technology such as like synthetic skin that's starting to become around, we could very well see like robot caretakers be something of our generation, which could help prolong the lives of our loved ones, which obviously is good news for us. So besides animatronics, there's other things that this technology could be used for, like entertainment. Disney teamed up with a company called Panasonic to create lifelike holograms. And we've seen a little bit of holograms before. There's been like concerts held with holograms and other holograms used throughout entertainment. But Disney has really pulled out the most effective hologram type thing that we have for this ride itself. So with that, it can really bring the screen to reality. We could have like hologram phones. Apple could make like a watch that has holograms coming out of it. So holograms could very well be something that comes in our life and our generation, which would really improve like communication and media and all that entertainment business. And besides that, another thing that could be developed from this ride is transportation. So Disney developed their own thin pancake motor that lines the floors because the ride is trackless, which creates it creates a immersive, like really unpredictable experience because the ride just flows in every which way. It could turn on a dime. So with this type of thin pancake motor, it could really help integrate that into like cars. So there was already been studies like in Renault. There's been like floating cars. This company called Renault, they did this whole test experiment thing with like floating flying cars, and obviously flying cars is going to be far in the future. But self-driving cars that are safer than Tesla, because Tesla is obviously not fault-proof. It's going to have its own problems. These like self-driving cars can line the ground. We could have these sensors around, and people could just get from point A to point B really fast and smoothly. And this could help like change how transportation works, and like driving could be obsolete. Like this is a discussion that's been going on with like scientists and studies. So Disney's they're helping pioneer that process of creating that. So besides all that technology that I just mentioned, the ride itself is truly like an immersive experience, and no other like company or theme park place can compete with the amount of like just you really feel like you're in the ride and in that universe, which is really crazy. So besides everything going on the ride, I just really encourage everyone to ride it, because not only does it help, like it's just a good old time, it's fun, but it also is like kind of look into the future of our lives and how our generation could be shaped by something as little as a roller coaster at Disneyland. So thank you.
So Critical Friends is something we do in anatomy where we share our research about our topics, and it allows us to get feedback from our table mates. And
Critical Friends is something we do in order to basically just better our presentations down the road. It's kind of a proprietary step to where we just want to prepare, we want to make each other better. It's kind of like peer reviewing in English when you give somebody your essay and they read through it.
It allows us to make our presentations better for later down the road.
Great job, Kyler. I'll be sure to check out the ride at Disney sometime soon.
All right, next up we have Irene Lee with healthcare plans.
Okay, hello? So, as the presidential election for 2020 closes in on us, there's something we need to talk about that America needs much reform on, and that is healthcare plans. Headline: the talented musician and opera singer who moved to the U.S. from Russia 24 years ago ended up on the streets after she suffered serious health injuries and had to pay for medical bills. This is a pretty recent story from last year, but it perfectly portrays the flaws in America's healthcare system. If a internationally renowned act singer can end up homeless due to medical bills, then ordinary Americans don't stand a chance. And most of the times, they don't. When you vote for the 2020 ballots, what will you be thinking? Is it okay for people to become homeless because they don't have good health insurance? As a first world country like America, this is something we need to talk about. One of the main reasons our system is the way it is because it's a mix of public and private programs with no regulation. No regulation means that private companies and hospitals can set the costs of medical services without any rules by the government. If they say they don't, a prime example of what they mean by no regulation is that if the prime example is vague communication that goes on with no regulation. Then comes Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders with the form of reform, his Medicare for All plan. Before I explain the Medicare for All plan, here's some context you should know. In 1965, Congress established both Medicare and Medicaid programs. Medicare is a jointly funded program that helps the elderly, and Medicare is a jointly funded federal state health insurance program for the low income and needy. Then the next most significant healthcare reform was in 2010 when Obamacare, aka the Affordable Care Act, aimed to make health insurance more affordable and available by requiring everyone who can afford health insurance get health insurance, or they pay a tax penalty. Republicans did not like this tax penalty at all, and they tried their best to repeal it. But even with Trump winning the 2017 elections, they were unable to repeal the bill because of how successful it was. 20 million Americans became insured. The Republicans were only able to repeal the tax penalty, not the bill. With the background set comes the Medicare for All plan introduced by Bernie Sanders. Essentially, this plan aims to give everyone health care by eliminating all the private healthcare companies and combining them into one plan run by the government. The goal is to provide health insurance to everyone and not just the top % of Americans. If it does expand healthcare to more people, do you think it is worth it or not? It's something to think about. Hopefully, you all know a little bit more about healthcare that has sparked at least a little interest, because being able to financially support your health is just as important as maintaining it. Thank you.
So hi, my name is Angelina, and I did the gallery walk. It was actually pretty fun. You actually share what you learned to others, and they actually learned something. Like 3 of the other guys in my group, when I was sharing my presentation, they were actually pretty interested in the topic, and they didn't know the facts that I had.
And getting to collaborate with different peers was really cool as well.
So that's why we should start working right now. I'm pretty sure some people from genocide.
Thank you, Irene, for teaching us about healthcare.
Up next is Tammy Lee with her presentation called The Earth is Slowly Dying.
Hello, how are you guys doing? Great. So, hi, my name is Tammy Lee, and our Earth is slowly dying due to climate change. So what is climate change? Well, let me tell you. Climate change is a change in global or regional weather patterns. The planet's average surface temperature has increased by 1.62 degrees Fahrenheit since the late 19th century due to carbon dioxide and other human-made gas emissions into the atmosphere. Currently, right now, there are heat waves and droughts, which has caused a change in crop production, resulting in a spike in food prices. There have been way more cases of food and waterborne illnesses due to climate change. Right now, ice sheets are melting very quickly, and the water from that goes into oceans, resulting in sea level rise. Now, the sea level rise has caused drinking water in some cities to be contaminated, which is not good. Another fact is that more than 80% of natural disasters are due to climate change. That's a lot. Now, I feel that with the help of science and humans that we can solve climate change before it's too late. Now, what type of science we have right now to help solve climate change is Elon Musk, the creator of Tesla, has created electric cars which help save gas and in the long run will help save the earth. Right now, celebrities are posting about climate change to bring awareness, and celebrities include Shawn Mendes, Leonardo DiCaprio, Lizzo, Jane Fonda, and more. Greta Thunberg, an activist of climate change, has created this program called Fridays for Future, where every Friday kids take some time out of school to go on strike against climate change. I feel that this idea is very important since it shows that kids our age can feel so strong about such a strong topic. Adding on, what humans can do is that we could reduce food waste and eat less meat. Reducing food waste is vital since it keeps food out of landfills. Eating less meat is good since it will first of all impact our health and reduce the amount of greenhouse gas emissions that are produced. Now, a fact is that raising cows, chickens, and pigs for consumption takes a lot of greenhouse gas emissions as much as automobiles. A couple of months ago, I went vegan for 7 months and it really changed my point of view on the earth, and it felt good that I was helping to change the earth. Moving on, in the future, if we don't figure out how to solve climate change, we'll be doomed. A couple of weeks ago, I watched a video called What Life Will Be Like in 2100, and it inspired me to do climate change as my topic. It showed that we would be limited to 1 bucket of clean water a day for everyday uses. We may have to wear air masks when we go outside due to the air may be way too contaminated with pollution. Also, food would have to be taken in pills since to provide nutrients, since a lot of the food would be extinct. Now, this doesn't have to be our future. The last resort we have in the future is Mars. Mars is the most livable planet besides Earth and is mainly made up of carbon dioxide. The landmass of Mars and Earth is very similar, which is good, and Mars has a temperature of negative 80 degrees Fahrenheit, which is very cold. Now, people say that we could live on Mars by the 2030s, so how could we do this? Well, for starters, we will need water, so scientists are coming up with water processing systems. Also, scientists are coming up with molecular oxygen, since you need both oxygen and carbon dioxide to breathe. Also, we will need special habitats to keep us warm so we don't freeze to death. And right now, scientists are working on special habitats, machines, and spacesuits for astronauts to avoid radiation from Mars. Now, solutions to climate change that scientists can take on right now is make more electric cars, new ways to recycle, and more air machines that will clean out contaminated air. Now, what can you guys do? Well, first of all, it takes a lot of energy to heat, pump, and treat water, so take shorter showers and use less water when you're brushing your teeth. Also, spread awareness about climate change, post on your social media because anything will help. Eat less meat and reduce the amount of food you waste. And in conclusion, I believe that we can stop climate change if scientists and humans work together. And don't forget to brow on, and thank you.
And that wraps up second period Scholar Talks. Everyone's done a great job so far.
Scholar Talks will return after third period announcements. Thank you.